in the US? Well, a little earlier today, I spoke to Yuriy, who's an advisor at Ukraine's Ministry of Strategic Industries, which includes arms manufacture. He's in London at the moment talking to British companies about partnerships to build new drones and other weapons. How much difference does he think it would make if the US were to lift those restrictions?
First of all, we are, as a nation, entitled by international law to a right to self-defense. Now, that entitles our right to strike the enemy before it actually arrives on our land. In practical terms, if you look at, for example, how the situation develops now in the Kharkiv region, if you look at the amount of Russian troops that are amassed on the border, and they feel, they can strike Ukraine with impunity. Just today, there was another strike, for example, on the city of Kharkiv. We've been always honest with our partners, and we've always said that we will honor our commitments, and we do, meaning that, we are not going to break this agreement. But at the same time, of course, it will enable us to be better protected if this decision is passed.
Yes, and then to what extent better protected? Because my understanding is that although you're targeting Russian missile launchers, for example, in Russia and other targets within Russia, your own weapons aren't doing much damage. So I suppose what I'm getting at is if you could use American weapons, how much advantage would that give you?
At the moment, the weapons that we produce, for example, long-range drones, we're using very efficiently, and you saw that we have been able to degrade Russian oil refining capacity considerably, right?
But Russia is managing to shoot quite a lot of those down, isn't it?
Well, yes, but we still manage, many of them get through, and as a result, the ability of Russia to fund its war effort is gradually decreasing. So, but of course, having a permission to use the Western-provided weapons the way we need to use it, of course, it will make us stronger, and it will just mean that we will be able to achieve the results faster.
This debate in Washington seems to have gained in some intensity because of Antony Blinken's recent visit to Kiev and what he heard from you guys there. How worried are you about the situation in Kharkiv? Ukraine seems to be struggling to halt Russia's advances.
We actually have slowed them down considerably, and their advances are very incremental. We've been able to relocate our reserves because we had intelligence and we knew about their plans well ahead. Of course, if we had more weapons arriving faster, their advances would have been even slower. But at the moment, the situation is serious, but in most parts of the front, in the Kharkiv region, it's under control of the Ukrainian armed forces. For us, the top priority is always making sure that we save the lives of our soldiers. So we're not Russians, we're not using the meat grinder tactics. Where necessary, we defend, but if necessary, we fall back to prepared defense lines. And it had a very kind of shocking start for many, but it's stabilized in many respects.
And when President Putin says he has no intention of moving on Kharkiv city, do you believe him?
Look, they've been struggling to take control of smaller cities like Avdiivka for 6 months, staggering losses. So for them to talk about Kharkiv is just wishful thinking, but we don't trust whatever they say.
What about the use of tactical nuclear weapons, which has come back into the news because of these exercises with those units that Russia is now carrying out? Do you think Russia would ever use a tactical nuclear weapon on Ukraine?
We believe that this is still blackmail. This is just tactics of trying to scare Ukraine's partners into inaction. Our president said just yesterday, they can be anything, but they're not suicidal.
I mean, America approved that big package of assistance for Ukraine. I mean, is that now starting to filter through to the battlefield? I mean, are those weapons arriving, or is there still going to be a delay?
They are arriving, and we can already feel the difference on the front lines. So the ratio of, for example, artillery shells is gradually changing. I can't say that we have achieved parity with the Russians at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big difference before, wasn't there?
1 to 10 4 weeks ago. But of course, some of the weapons that was pledged to Ukraine, they are in warehouses in Europe, so they get to Ukraine faster. Some other weapon systems need to be shipped from the US. But the short answer is yes, the weapons is already arriving, and it is making a change. But again, I will refer to our president. Everything that we promised arrives kind of 1 year later, and a lot of things could have been different if the pace was just changed.
And as I understand it, the Ukrainian focus has also shifted towards becoming more self-sufficient in weapons production. Is that part of why you're here in the UK?
One of the major priority projects for us right now is called ZBROYARI, Manufacturing Freedom. Now, the purpose of that is encouraging our partners to buy Ukrainian-produced weapons for the Ukrainian army. That's the best way because it supports the economy, plus it enables our defense industry better.
And that was Yuriy, who's an advisor at Ukraine's Ministry of Strategic Industries, which does include arms manufacture and procurement. He came into the Newshour studio a little earlier today. As ever, there is much more on the conflict in Ukraine and what is happening in the northeast of the country in Kharkiv on our website, including a piece by the BBC's Joe Inwood about the glide bombs that Russia is using to advance its offensive in that part of Ukraine.